Sewing is a human tradition that is as old as the shame of Adam and Eve. What started as a way to protect yourself from the elements and embarrassment has become a cultural touchstone all over the world. But human textiles and tapestries aren't the only examples of sewing in nature. A tiny tailor lives in tropical Asia, sewing its heart out for hearth and home. But perfecting a skill that provides you shelter is a noble pursuit in life, death, and taxonomy. Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
And thank you to Johanna for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter at LD Taxonomy or visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com. And a very special thank you to our patrons, to Tristan Taylor, Jesse Raspulich, Carol Raspulich, Paul Chomo, and Richard Kaspar. Thank you so much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on.
And today we're talking about a bird that sings a song which is soft, but it's clear as if maybe someone could hear. But more on that later.
Sure.
Good night, moonlight ladies.
I don't know that song. Sounds like an old one, so I hate it.
It's a James Taylor song.
There we go. It's old.
You hate old?
I hate old by... I hate the M. Night Shyamalan movie.
That's actually one of his okay ones. It's pretty fun.
I haven't seen it. It didn't really hold my interest through the trailer. So
I mean, if the spectrum is between whatever you would consider his best movie to be,
The Last Airbender for sure.
And The Last Airbender being the worst, it's definitely above average because the Last Airbender is so abysmal.
There's just a wide gulf between The Last Airbender and I mean, I guess his best movie would be The Sixth Sense, maybe Unbreakable.
Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. But speaking of James Taylor,
the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
We're talking about... Oh, wait, you tell
me. Oh, yeah,
me.
I'd say it. We're talking about the common Tailorbird. And also, if you're... if the audio sounds different, or if you're watching this as a patron, and you see I'm in a much nicer looking office, it's because Hurricane Ian is going to go turn my house into splinters in Jacksonville, so we've relocated for the time being. Because we don't want to live in splinters. That doesn't sound good.
No,
it sounds uncomfortable at
pointy.
best. Yes.
You guys are in in a hurricane zone? I would have thought it would have... I know it's going through Jacksonville, but
it'll be a tropical storm by then. We just don't... I'm being hyperbolic.
Gotcha.
You just don't want to spend several days without power with small children.
Yeah, for sure. And it's for us. We're not in the cone of disaster, but it's wet. It's very wet here.
It's really weird. It was really weird leaving North Florida to come to South Florida to avoid a hurricane. I was like, okay, this is all right. I guess this is what we do now. But it's nice. We got a generator here. We've got supplies, shutters, all the things that we don't have in Jacksonville. So it also excuse the tiny human screams. We're gonna assume that they're parrots. We'll call them parrots.
We're in a tropical jungle.
I am in a jungle.
It's the Jungle Book.
Which is very appropriate. That's a good segue.
Yeah.
To what we're going to... So this is the common Tailorbird. Did I say that? Yeah. And so we're going to call it here. A rivet runs through it.
Nice.
Crazy Stitch Asians.
Yeah.
And
it works.
Ricky Tiki Tembo, No Sa Rembo, Chari Bari Bucci, Pitberry Pembo.
I love it.
Because that's the one of the main characters in Rudyard Kipling's Rikki Tikki Tavi, which is
a story in the Jungle Book.
a story in the Jungle Book.
Yeah.
Which is which is which is very Yeah, the Jungle Book is actually a collection of stories.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is Rikki Tikki Tavi. And one of them is... which is the one that with Mowgli, then, that we know and love?
I forget what it's... Oh, what is it
The
called?
Law of the Jungle?
Is it? It could be.
Maybe. But anyway...
And then there's the elephant one that is boring.
Yeah, that one, I actually didn't make it all the way through that one. But Rikki Tikki Tavi is the story of a mongoose.
It was like one of my favorite things in the world when I was a child.
Really? I didn't discover it until I was an adult. But a couple of Tailorbirds are some of the principal characters in it. So, and then I don't know if you've ever read this story of Rikki Tikki Tembo no Sarembo Chari Barabuchi Piperi Pembo. Have you?
I've read... I don't know what any of that is. I can't... Is that from Rikki Tikki Tavi? Because I can't remember that.
No, it has nothing to do with it. It's a story of a firstborn kid who has this super long name, and then a secondborn kid who has like a really short name. But the firstborn keeps falling into a well, and the secondborn keeps running back to his parents and having to say like he's fallen into a well, but he has to say the whole name, and like it's this kind of joke where he keeps having to run back to his parents and like out of breath try to recite this kid's entire name: Rikki Tikki Tembo no Sarembo Chari Barabuchi Piperi Pembo. And all the while like the kid's in the well. So I forgot how it ended, but I remember reading it a bunch as a kid. And it just, when I saw Rikki Tikki Tavi, I thought of that. But we'll stick with the Crazy Stitch Asians because that's easier to say. Do you want to taxonomize this, or do you want me to taxonomize this?
You know what? You go ahead.
All right, I thought you'd say that, so I wrote it down. The kingdom is one you know, love, and are in. That kingdom is Animalia, the one and only. The phylum is Chordata. The class is It's a Bird. Let's hear you say it. I know you know it. It's Aves. That's right. The order is Passeriformes, the largest order of birds that includes jays and crows and things like that. The family is Cysticolidae. The letter C is such a superfluous letter in the Latin and English alphabet. It's really the Latin alphabet, because it's C and X and Q are, and I guess J are useless because they're all covered by some other letter. But anyway, they didn't ask me.
How would you do J?
It's G. G fulfills the J.
Oh, fair enough. Soft G.
Unless
you
it's
just
like
make
Scandinavian.
G is never soft.
Yeah, make one always hard and one always soft. But because G is both hard and soft, then that means that the only reason you need J is to say something like fjord. And then you just put a Y there.
Right.
And that. Anyway, I say C is superfluous, and it's the first letter of my name.
It's also for cookies.
C is for cookie, and I gotta say, cookie is definitely for me. The genus is Orthotomus, which sounds awesome. The species is Sutorius, Orthotomus sutorius. That's good. That's a gladiator name.
Beautiful.
Yeah. That is like, have you gather around and hear the ancient Greek tale of Orthotomus sutorius and his mighty campaign against the Picts or something like that. Not Greek, Roman, but whatever. Which brings us to my, I guess, second favorite part of the show, which is nitty gritty nomenclature. I was so surprised and disappointed that Tailorbirds and songbirds in general don't have a collective noun. Birds are usually, ornithologists are usually so good at having like weird and surprising and fun collective nouns for groups of birds. And Tailorbirds, despite being an entire genus of bird, don't have a collective noun. And then songbirds, which I think is the entire family of Cysticolidae. Also, no collective noun. There's just too many different kinds of them, I suppose. So what we need is like a supergenus or a subfamily, and then you could probably come up with a collective noun for that. But since we don't have one, we're doing nitty-gritty nomenclature. What does Joe, Orthotimus sutorius, mean? Does it mean A, white-chested seamster, B, firm-eyed loom, C, straight-cutting cobbler, or D, bright stitch?
I'm going to go with bright stitch. Why not? Final answer.
And it is incorrect. I was like, oh, please don't have looked at the Wikipedia because it's right there. The answer is straight-cutting cobbler.
Dang, that was my second choice.
Really? Why cobbler?
Well, because the first one you said was seamster, and I don't think seamster's a thing. I think you can only be a seamstress.
No.
Well, when I looked it up earlier today,
no, a seamster is a person employed at sewing. It's just it's the general or masculine.
Look at that.
Term.
Men really can do whatever they want.
What a world we live in. Men can sew too. and have a title for it. Oh gosh. We've made so much progress.
I thought it was just tailors and seamstresses.
It's also probably something you would call to a mixed group of people who sew. They're all seamsters. That's a group of seamsters. Some of them are seamstresses.
Seamsmen and seamstresses are all seamsters.
No. Nope. I'm not going to be called the seamsman. I refuse. I refuse that moniker and take on my own. Yeah, straight cutting cobbler. That's what Orthotimus sutorius means. I like breaking it down. I'm not really sure where this all comes from because ortho screams bone to me.
No, it's the cobbler one you said, right?
Yeah.
Straight cutting.
What did I say?
What did you say?
Straight cutting cobbler. I don't know how that fits into like the Latin breakdown of Orthotimus and sutorius, and also suture comes from the same root as sutorius. So
cutting.
Maybe that's the cutting part, maybe that's the cobbler part, but language is weird. Do you want to hear about what this bird looks like?
Sure.
Common tailorbird, which we're not just talking about I mean, I guess we are talking about tailorbirds in general, but this is the common tailorbird, is a small finch-shaped bird. It's shaped exactly like David Finch. It's really weird. But it's unlike a finch. It has a long kingfisher-esque beak, so it's kind of like a stubby sandpiper when you look at it. There is not a lot, if any, sexual dimorphism here, and sexual dimorphism is physical differences between male and females of a species. So these are it's very tough to tell one from the other. And so both males and females have pale green backs with white bellies and faces and red tufts on their crowns, on their receding hairlines. Their bird pattern baldness. And speaking of pattern baldness, they also have black patches under their necks that are more visible when they sing or call to each other. But these are not patches of feathers. These are actually black patches of bare skin that are exposed. So the skin that they have under their necks is jet black, like a gorilla's. They also have wiry pink legs and a long green tail. Males tend to have longer tails, especially during breeding season. And I said they were small, shaped exactly like David Finch. Mm-hmm. So how small is David Finch?
Well, welcome to the Beloved Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show, the part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send an audio of yourself saying, singing, or chittering. The words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We do have a new Measure Up intro this week
Nice.
because Melissa continues to put the team on her back.
And the government shall be on her shoulders.
No, it's blasphemy. But before that, she has responded and told us exactly what that noise in the background was.
Oh,
Remember there was a
I said it was-
generator sound.
and I said it was a sewing machine, and here we are talking about the common Tailorbird.
Right. If only it was a sewing machine, then it would all be full circle.
Is it a
It
generator?
wasn't a sewing machine or a generator. It was. She said you were so close, but we were both not close. She's being charitable once again. It was an old, she said, a crazy old oscillating fan, which I can understand. I do have an old fan that sounds something like that.
Like a big metal one from like that's posted up in your like weight training class in high school.
Yes, that's the exact one I was talking about.
Yep. Interesting.
But let's hear what she's got for us this week. Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show.
Measure up. Let's see what you got.
It's the same fan.
The beloved Measure Up fan at work.
That's our biggest fan. It's the biggest one.
Yeah. Melissa has listened to every episode plus some, and yet she's in a room
She's-
with the biggest fan. With an
She's
even
listened to
bigger fan.
She's listened to every episode, including ones we haven't even recorded yet.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you, Melissa, for a
Yeah.
third of 4 Measure Up. So there's one more to go.
There is
And
an
let's-
entire jungle of animals outside of my door.
Well, let's see what you got. And let's talk about length.
Okay.
They're between 10 and 14 centimeters, which is 3.9 to 5.5 inches. How many Tailorbirds go into the length of the T-shirt made by Palestindia, or actually it's probably Plastindia Foundation, as in plastic, in 2018?
A T-shirt?
Yeah. Here's a hint. The T-shirt was made from 200,000 plastic bottles and featured a green and white striped pattern.
200,000 plastic bottles. Now, which dimension of this T-shirt am I going by? Like
Length.
hem to hem,
Yeah, probably
like
top
sleeve to
of the
sleeve.
top of the neck or shoulder to the bottom of it.
Okay.
The torso hole.
The head hole to the torso hole.
Snout to vent. Yep.
200,000 bottles is more than a few bottles.
Mm-hmm. The plastic bottles tells you almost nothing, except for that it is not a regular size T-shirt. Because it's not a shirt of bottles. It is obvious. It's recycled material, so it's like melted down.
Oh, okay. I'm picturing like a parade float
No.
sized T-shirt made of plastic bottles that have been glued together.
No.
Okay, so and that are all in a row. So I was like, okay, how many plastic bottles tall would this thing be? All right, so then I have no idea. I'm gonna go with 20 feet. You said 5.5 inches, right?
Yep.
43.6 Tailorbirds go into this tailored t-shirt. T stands for tailored.
Is that your final answer?
T stands for Tebow. Yes.
Now remember, since Melissa sent in a new Measure Up intro, that means you get a 5% bonus towards this and the next Measure Up question.
I get some EC, some extra credit.
Yeah, let's see if 5% helps you. The correct answer is 693 birds.
It does not help me.
The shirt was 96.86 meters or 317.78 feet long.
Yeah,
300-foot shirt.
I actually might have gotten that much more correct along if I'd continued along my train of calculations using the bottles themselves. Because I was at if this was a perfect square, there'd be about 450 bottles, but t-shirts are taller than they are wide, so I probably would have said maybe 600 bottles tall. And if a bottle is 8 inches, even if it's 6 inches, then I would have said 300 feet tall, and I would have been much, much closer.
So the fact that it was melted down and stretched, you thought it was smaller?
I don't know if stretched. I don't know if it's thick. Maybe it's thick with 2 or 3 C's. I don't know what this thing looks like.
It's a super thick plastic shirt.
You could melt it down and then turn make this. I'm picturing a parade float.
It's flat on the ground.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the 5% will help you in the next one. Let's talk weight. They're between 6 to 10 grams or 0.21 to 0.35 ounces.
Third of an ounce.
How many Tailorbirds go into the Weight of Fantasy by Gail B., the world's largest beaded wedding dress? Here's a hint. I discovered this dress looking for heavy fabrics because of the tailoring sewing theme. Ironically, this dress has no thread at all. It is beads on wire. So the dress's train is more than 20 feet long. The dress as a whole has more than 7 miles of beading wire and more than 1 million beads.
Do people wear it?
It's wearable.
Wearable, okay.
It's not very modest.
Oh, so fewer beads than are necessary.
It's got an exposed midriff. So you would think, man, there's so much material. You've got to be covered from head to toe. It's mostly train, I think.
It's like a bikini, but then just a train coming off the back of it.
Well, it's got a traditional skirt dress, I think. Well, not really. It's like chainmail, but shiny beads.
Interesting. I wonder if it's